Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. It is Christmas Eve. We're trying to keep the spirits nice and happy even though we were knocked out of the Carabao Cup yesterday, but we won't talk too much about that. We've already spoken about that today, so we'll brush that one aside. We're here to talk about our Boxing Day fixture against bottom of the league Sheffield United. A massive chance for Everton to bounce back after that disappointing Carabao Cup fixture, and also a massive chance for us to continue our good league form. Obviously 3 wins out of 3 so far in December. Brilliant win against Chelsea to start it off, a fantastic away win against Leicester, and then a hard-fought victory against Arsenal last weekend. So there's 3 very difficult games there, especially the games against Leicester and Chelsea. And you know, the Arsenal game, okay, they're in awful form, but a side like Arsenal in awful form are always very dangerous, and we've taken 9 points out of those 3 games. So if we can beat Sheffield United on Boxing Day, which let's be honest is the expectation considering their form at the moment and how poor they've been this season, then you know, we'll make it 4 out of 4, 12 points out of 12, and we will be firmly within that top 4 in a month that we all thought would massively struggle in. Obviously it won't make up for the Carabao Cup defeat, but it will allow us to sort of move on and focus on the league. Joined by Cal as always to go through this one. We're going to be giving our predicted starting 11s. We're going to be talking about the game in all of its detail, but it's a massive game to bounce back in, isn't it, Cal? Look, this on paper is you know, one of the easiest games you'll play all season. We're playing a side that are 20th in the Premier League, not won a game so far this season, drawn 2, lost 12, only 2 points, on target to do a derby and go down with less than 10 points this season. But that arguably makes them a very difficult opponent. Now again, I don't just want to sit on the fence here and say, oh, it's going to be a dead you know, hard game. This will be a tough game for me. We absolutely should be winning it. Our expectation is to win this game, and if we can't beat a team who have only picked up 2 points this season and not won a game this season, then I think we need to start reining our expectations in regarding European football and where we're going to finish this season. We need to go out and we need to display our dominance, and we need to go out and go, you know what, we had a poor performance and a poor result midweek in the Carabao Cup. Let's bounce back and beat a side that we should be beating. What I want to see Everton do on Saturday, Boxing Day, which it never usually happens because Boxing Day fixtures are always terrible. I think it's an 8 o'clock kickoff as well, which is mad on Boxing Day. But I want to see Everton go out and score 3, 4 or 5 goals and keep a solid defensive back line like we have done over the last 3 Premier League games, and go and blow this Sheffield United side away, and go and say to all of those people that go, oh yeah, Everton are in the top 4 but they're only there because they've stained a couple of good results, they'll fall off. Go and say to those people, no, actually the teams lower down in the league, we'll blather them. We can compete against the teams that are higher up, and we just need to get that consistency. And that's going to be difficult, Cal, because these are the side that are desperate for a win. Absolutely desperate for the win. It's a close relegation battle this season, but Sheffield United do look like they're probably nailed on to go down at the moment, but doesn't mean that they'll have given up all hope. There's still a lot of football to be played, still a lot of games to be played, and these have got their backs well and truly against the wall, and Chris Wilder will always set them up to go out and win this game of football, and any game of football. So on paper it looks like it's going to be an easy game, but it won't be, will it? They're a team that, you know, again, like I said, desperate for a win, and it's going to be a tough opposition.
Yeah, I do, but I think one thing we've got to look at going into the game is there's definitely going to be rotation. I think that's one thing that worries me going to it. I don't see Calvert-Lewin playing. You'll see when we get into it, I don't see Richarlison playing. We don't have Digne. We don't have... You know, so it's going to be a hard game. Sheffield United are always a hard team to play against. Look at what they did last year, you know. All it takes is one result for them and it can turn everything around, you know. Especially with how close the bottom of the table is. Like, don't get me wrong, right? They are, if I can have a look here, sat on 2 points. But in the end, if the other teams above them drop and they can pick up 3 or 4 good wins, that's them out of the relegation.
Yeah.
I think with the Premier League this year and with everything that's going on, it's hard to predict anything. And it's a good idea not to predict anything at this point.
No, you're spot on. You mentioned squad depth there and squad rotation, and that's what really worries me. I mean, if there's anything that we've seen from the game against Manchester United yesterday, is that our squad depth and our ability to rotate is very poor. You only have to look at our bench on pretty much a weekly basis. Again, you've seen it against Manchester United. You've seen it in Premier League games. Even when we've been playing well, you still look at our bench and you think, there's nobody on that bench who's going to come on and change this game. So if it does go wrong, pretty much just got to ride out the storm and hope that we can get something out of the game, because, you know, the players that we've got to bring on just aren't effective. They're completely ineffective. And I know the Anthony Gordon shouts out there, and a lot of people have been calling for Anthony Gordon, and I understand that completely. I do. And, you know, look, Anthony Gordon probably does deserve his opportunity, and he probably does deserve his chance to, you know, show that he can, you know, he can perform better than a Bernard or a Sigurdsson, etc. But ultimately, look, you know, at the end of the day, there's no clear evidential proof that Anthony Gordon can come on and change a game, or can come on and be that impact substitute. What we know so far is Bernard isn't going to come on and be that impact substitute. Cenk Tosun isn't going to come on and be that impact substitute. Tom Davies isn't going to do that. So the squad rotation element is a worry for me, because Carlo said a couple of weeks ago there's going to come a point in this month where Dominic Calvert-Lewin has to have a rest, where I need to take Dominic Calvert-Lewin out and he needs to rest. And I understand that completely. Dom's played, I think, every game so far this season. He's very rarely substituted. If he is substituted, it's in the last 5 or 10 minutes of a game. So I understand that. The last thing we want is Dom picking up a hamstring injury, which will see him out for 6 weeks, because if he does, we are bollocksed, because we've got nobody that can come in and replace him and do what he does. So I get that, and again, that's the worrying thing, because, like I said, if Dom picks up an injury, we've got nobody to come in to replace him. But when Dom needs a rest, we've got nobody to come in to replace him. So that's the sort of situation we're in at the moment. Same with Richarlison on the left-hand side. Obviously took a big knock in the game against Manchester United. He's confirmed on social media that he's fine. Carlo Ancelotti confirmed that he's doing okay, but you know, with head injuries and concussions and stuff, the doctors are very, very, very careful with it, and he mightn't be available for this game on Saturday. He might be told to sit out, or at least to stay on the bench from the start, and maybe be a substitute. So again, that is a worry, isn't it? The squad rotation is a worry, and ultimately the fact that we haven't got a good enough squad is a worry. But we're coming up against a team that, like I said, haven't picked up a win this season, only 2 points this season. So even with a depleted squad, and a squad that mightn't necessarily be good enough to challenge a Man United, who have got the ability to bring off Pogba off the bench in a Premier League game, or Rashford off the bench in a cup game, the squad still should be good enough to beat Sheffield United, shouldn't it? Even the fringe players, your Bernards, maybe your Anthony Gordons if he's given a go, your Tossons, these players still should be good enough to go out and get a win against the side that can't even buy a win at the moment. They'll be looking at Everton thinking, right, okay, we need to get at their weaknesses, and we need to make sure that we stop the service to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we break at them quick, like Manchester United did in the opening 25 minutes. We should have more than enough quality to, you know, avoid them stopping the Calvert-Lewin service and just constantly peppering it. We'll talk about James Rodriguez in a second, and the importance of him if he is back. Obviously, we're recording this before Carlo Ancelotti's pre-game press conference, so we don't know if James Rodriguez is going to be back or not, but we can only assume. I don't know. Listen, I don't know. It's 50-50. He may be back, he mightn't be back. I'm going to go with he will be back, because I want him to be back. But again, I don't know anything that you don't know, and we'll have to wait for Carlo to say. But like I said, even with squad rotation, which is worrying, there's no excuse, is there? There's no excuse on Saturday. We don't go out and get that 3 points. There's not one excuse that I will be happily sitting in and go. Whereas yesterday, the Carabao Cup game, look, I'm not making excuses, and I'm not saying it's excusable, but it's very clear that their squad, Manchester United talking about, is much, much better than our squad. They can afford to make 9 changes and still put in a decent performance. They can afford to bring quality players off the bench. We can't. They're up there fighting for Champions League places. So we at the moment, but that's the different level between them and us. Sheffield United, there's no excuse. There's not that, is there? We're not going to be sitting here saying, oh, well, yeah, well, they've got a better squad and they can afford to make all these changes. It needs to be a 3 points, doesn't it, Cal?
Yeah, 100% does. Even with the rotation, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I don't see Dom or Richarlison playing. But personally, I do think James comes back, because to be brutally honest, I don't think he's really been injured. I think this has been Ancelotti's resting. He's talking about, listen, look at Gareth Bale over at Tottenham. James barely played last year. He got like a few appearances and 1 star or something ridiculous like that. Don't expect him to be fully fit. Expect him to be rested. And, you know, Carlo probably was thinking, oh, let's bring it back for Leicester. Let's bring it back for Arsenal. But we were winning the game, so Carlo realised, you know, I can keep him on the bench and I can afford it. But if we don't have Richarlison or Calvert-Lewin playing, or, you know, both of them on the bench, surely James has to start, because then he will be the focal point of the team that we need to do everything around.
Yeah, no, I agree, spot on. And let's talk about James for a moment, obviously, because, again, it's mad because he's been out for, what, three games now. Last game he played is the Burnley game, so 4 games. He's missed the Chelsea game, the Leicester game, the Arsenal game, and the Manchester United game. And that's mad when you think, oh, he's been out for 4 games, and Carlo said it was only a small injury. Carlo said he wouldn't be out for very long. But when you look at the games in which we've played and when we've played them, it's really only been about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks that he's missed. So in a normal month that isn't December, he'd have only missed 2 games really, which is sort of understandable for a player with a slight injury. It's just that it's in December and we're playing every 5 minutes, so he's missed 4 games. Carlo had his press conference obviously prior to the Manchester United game. He hasn't had his one for this game yet. He had his one prior to the Manchester United game. He was asked about James. He said it's still a slight injury. He's still not available. He basically said it's touch and go as to whether he'll be available for Sheffield United on Boxing Day. Now, for me, let's talk about if he is available. He has to come back in. He absolutely has to come back in. If anything, if yesterday showed anything, other than the fact that we desperately missed Alan and Luca Dean, it showed that those fans who were talking about how James Rodriguez isn't needed and, oh, we're better without him, it's just laughable. Because without James Rodriguez in this team, certainly when Dominic Calvert-Lewin is being sort of 2-man onto one and Richarlison isn't having the greatest game, there's no creativity in this team whatsoever. There's no creativity whatsoever without James, whilst those other 2 players aren't really at 110%. He absolutely has to come back in for me. Now, we'll go through our predicted starting 11s in a moment and see where I've put him in there. But like I said, that this is why we usually do the previews after the press conference. It's a bit difficult to do it now because it's Christmas Day tomorrow and I don't even know when Carlo's press conference is. It might be today, actually, to be honest. I'll have to check up on that. But, ultimately, look, again, it's difficult because if he's not fit, then this is a void conversation and it doesn't matter. But if he is fit, he absolutely has to go back in for me because we're going to need that creativity, and we needed that creativity of James yesterday, and we needed it against Arsenal, to be honest. I said after the Arsenal game we won it and it was brilliant, happy days, but if we'd have had James in that team, I think we'd have scored 3 or 4 in the opening 10 or 15 minutes, because he's that player that looks out for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's that player that can find that pass out of nowhere. There's nobody else in this Everton team, in this club at the moment, who has made this decision about what he's going to do with the ball before he's received the ball. James Rodriguez does that. Sometimes Everton score and I go, how's that happened? And then you watch the replay and James has found a pass that you can't even see on the telly, that nobody else can see on the pitch, and that's why he is as good as he is. That's why he's a world-class footballer. That's why he's one of the best at doing that in the world, because he's got that vision that nobody else has got. Now, Gylfi Sigurdsson's worked very hard over the last couple of games, and I'm not going to sit here and slew him for that. He's worked very, very hard, and he's been much better. But he hasn't got that vision that James Rodriguez has got. He hasn't got that ability creatively that James Rodriguez has got. If James doesn't start this game, it's still no excuse. We still should have more than enough to beat a team that haven't won a game this season and are sitting 20th. More than enough. And if we want to be a challenging team for Europe, we should have more than enough. But if he is fit, mate, he's got to start, Annie. He's got to start. It's vital. The creativity he brings is just, it's night and day to anything that we've got.
Oh, yeah, 100%. To put it simply, James Rodriguez is the only world-class player we have. I like everyone on this team. I think Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison. Actually, I take that back. Dinier's world-class as well. But for attackers, he's the only one we've got. James Rodriguez is here. The second best player is here. And that's not... The thing is, James can be at 50% and he's still, probably the best player on that team. It's ridiculous. And, that's no insult to the Everton team and how well we're playing. It's just how good James Rodriguez is. What's he got? 6 goal contributions in 10 games?
Yeah.
When, to be honest, he's probably been played out of position. It's ridiculous. And listen, against a team like Sheffield United, his ability to pick passes, his dribbling ability, it's so needed because, let's face it, I don't think Sheffield United will be able to handle him, and they'll have to put everything they can onto him, which will then give other players like Iwobi opportunities to, show what they're available to do. But I don't know. I think if Dom and Richarlison are playing, then James has to start, and especially since I don't think it's as much of an injury or as a problem Carlos says. I think he is just resting him, to be honest.
Well, if he is, then there's no better time than the now, is there? No better time to put him in there. And ultimately, there's no better time for him to make his return. Again, look, he probably has had a little slight injury to walk off. But I think if I do agree. I do agree. I think if Everton wouldn't have beaten Chelsea and wouldn't have beaten Leicester and would have put in a poor performance against those two teams, I think James would have been playing the Arsenal game. Carlo even said that. He said, look, there's no need to risk him. We can let him rest. We can keep his recovery. He's still feeling the injury. And I think James would have been in those, playing those games if we wouldn't have put in such good performances. And I think, to be fair, the game against Burnley, every game since the derby, I think James has played not 100%. And that is a worry, because that means that he's never going to get over that injury that he's got, because it's constantly being, played on, and it's constantly being worked when it's not fully recovered. This period of time, couple of weeks out, hopefully we'll give him that chance to fully recover and his body to fully recover, so that when he does come back in, he's completely fit and he's ready to go again. But like I said, I do think we'd have already seen him by now if he weren't playing so well. Now, if he's fit, it's the perfect time to bring him back, and I just hope he is fit, because ultimately we desperately need that creativity. Let's go into our predicted starting 11s then, Cal. We'll do what we usually do. I'll do my goalkeeper and back line. You can do your goalkeeper and back line, then we'll go into the midfield, etc, etc. So starting off in goal, I've gone for Jordan Pickford. Robin Olsen, he done okay yesterday. He done okay. There was a couple of moments at the start of the game that he struggled in. He very nearly gifted the goal to Anthony Martial, which would have been an absolute stinker at the start of the game. And his distribution yesterday, I thought, was really poor. Talking about the Man United game, I thought was really poor. But he done okay. But I think it's quite clear that Jordan Pickford will be back in this team on Saturday. Again, Jordan Pickford's been in relatively good form. Had a bit of a spell against Arsenal where he flapped at a couple of balls and he made some bad decisions, but he did make a good save towards the end of that game as well. Chelsea, he was brilliant. Leicester, he made some big saves. So Burnley, he was brilliant as well, even though we didn't win that game. So I think Jordan Pickford returns back in goal. Again, nothing massively against Robin Olsen. He was okay yesterday, but again, even when Robin Olsen's played well, he's wasn't against Olsen, played against Leicester. Even when he's played well, he's Jordan Pickford's come back in. Back line then, I'm sticking with the back line that beat Chelsea, that beat Leicester, that beat Arsenal. Ben Godfrey at left back. Played at left back yesterday, of course. Absolutely fantastic. It's very clear that Carlo Ancelotti prefers him to Niels Nkunku. It's very clear that I think in Carlo's mind now, Ben Godfrey is our backup left back to Luca Dean. And you know what? I don't have too much of an issue with that. Yeah, I feel for Nkunku, and I'd have liked to have seen him being given more of an opportunity, and I think he is better. Forward, a better fullback going forward, but you can't really you can't really knock Ben Godfrey's defensive capabilities. I think Ben Godfrey as a defensive fullback would be much better than Niels Nkunku. He's very, very good. Again, he was solid yesterday. Did get caught a couple of times, but more often than not, he's bringing the ball forward. He's using his pace. He's using his energy, and I just think he's a very, very, very good player. Centre backs then, Yerry Mina and Michael Keane. Again, sort of blow hot and cold yesterday. Couple of moments where you're thinking, what are you doing? But overall, in recent weeks, they've been very, very solid. Certainly, Michael Keane, he's been absolutely excellent as per usual. And I just look at this Everton team and I think, why change that centre-back partnership that's worked over 3 games? Okay, it didn't work yesterday, but the team didn't work yesterday. Who would come in? Would you bring Holgate in there? What's the point when we, for me, he should play right back? Would you bring Godfrey in there? What's the point? He's going to play left back. Branthwaite's still young and not played the game this season. So I think, other than Carlo resting players, which is a big, big possibility, again, I think those two started centre back. And then right back, Mason Holgate. Seamus didn't have an awful game yesterday. He didn't. He done okay, but I just think, defensively, I'm such an old-fashioned don't change a winning side fan, and those defenders were that back line of Godfrey, Mina, Keane and Holgate was so good against Chelsea, so good against Leicester, very solid against Arsenal, and ultimately it changed yesterday and we weren't that great. We still done okay, but we weren't that great defensively, and I just think Mason should be in this starting 11 for me. And I know some people are toyed about him being in midfield. I wouldn't. I'll tell you my midfield in a moment, which is probably just me wishing and probably won't happen, but I'd put Mason back at right back. Go on then, lad. What's your back line, goalkeeper?
Since the derby, I feel like he's been getting better and better. He feels more confident. Don't get me wrong, he had a few almost howler moments in the Arsenal game. But in the end, he always does have those moments. I don't think that's something that's ever going to leave his system just because of the type of keeper he is. The back four, this is something I've been umming and ahhing about because Michael Keane has played every game of the season for us, basically.
Yes.
And I could see him getting benched, especially with Coleman being back. And I think I'm going to stick with that. I think I'm going to go Coleman at right back. And then we're going to have Mina and Holgate at centre-back. And then Godfrey out at left-back. Listen, I love Nkunku just as much as everyone else. But in the end, he's either going to get loaned out in January or he's definitely going to get a game in our FA Cup round against Rotherham. Carlo's not going to play the full side against the bloody Championship side that looks like they're going to get relegated. Don't worry, Nkunku's going to play in January. Or he's going to get loaned out and we might see Smalls given an opportunity in the FA Cup, I don't know. But in the end, listen, it's a working formula. I think we can afford to have Seamus come in, especially, with the injury to Richarlison. Why not have another body like Seamus Coleman who can get forward? And I feel like we're not playing against a very dangerous attack, so we can afford to switch things around a bit at the back and not risk Michael Keane, because if we lose Michael Keane, don't get me wrong, we have plenty of centre-backs who are all performing, as you can see by the back four, but it's a big risk to a winning formula. So if we give Michael Keane the rest over the Christmas period, it's probably going to help us.
Yeah. Fair enough. Again, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Seamus return again. Thought he done okay yesterday, not massively against them. I just think Mason Holgate's been so good at right back. But you may be right, Michael Keane. It's mad. My predicted starting 11, by the way, a little spoiler before we go into the midfield, doesn't really take into consideration squad rotation or depth, and that's because I don't think I could sit here and rotate the squad knowing full well that our squad depth is awful and just be happy with it. So I'm gonna go with probably the best 11 and the dream 11 that I'd go for, but it's probably very unlikely, and Cal's starting 11 is probably going to be the more realistic one with the squad rotation and the changes and stuff. But yeah, anyway, into the midfield, I've gone for Abdoulaye Doucouré. Very good game against Chelsea, arguably his best game in an Everton in an Everton shirt. Again, very good against Leicester. Sort of moved into that Alan role, obviously, when Alan went off, and done really well there. So solid, done everything that he needed to do, got involved, stuck his foot in. And then again, decent game against Arsenal. Was okay yesterday against Manchester United, let's be honest. Wasn't massively involved. Again, the midfield was bypassed an awful lot, but I don't necessarily put that completely down to Doucouré. I think the players around him didn't help him whatsoever, to be honest with you. Certainly Andre Gomez. And then I've gone for James Rodriguez, if he's back in the middle, in the 10, as like a sort of attacking midfielder. James Rodriguez needs to be in this team. His creativity is missed far too much when he's not in this team, and if he's fit, he needs to be back in this team. Now, does Alex Iwobi come out, who's worked very hard recently? Is his final ball great? No, it's not. But he's worked very hard, and he's linked up to play well recently. The argument that a lot of fans are having with James is that he doesn't track back, and it's always 2-on-1 down that right-hand side, because the opposition, you don't get much defensive work rate. I don't really care about James' defensive work rate, to be honest with you, because he provides so much going forward. But I understand those concerns. I do. I understand those concerns. Now, in order to fix those concerns, and to be able to have a winger who will track back and who will help out, as well as somebody with the quality of James in the team, he has to play in the centre of midfield for me. In the number 10 role, which is the position he played in for the majority of his career, he can freely move around that midfield. He can still go over to the right if need be. And that's something that we haven't seen from James yet, that I think we're also desperately wanting to see, is that James in the centre of the midfield with Doucouré. And I've gone with Alan. In the team. Alan isn't even fit. I'll have to change that. I don't know why. I don't think I've mentioned that one anyway. Yeah. With Doucouré and whoever else plays next to next to him, with James in that number 10 role. So I just desperately want to see that. And if James is fit, then for me, I think it would be good to have him in that midfield and keep Alex Iwobi on the right hand side. Next midfielder then. I don't know why I bothered writing Alan down because obviously he's not fit. Again, it's sort of it's touch and go, isn't it? I know a lot of people have spoke about Mason Holgate being in there, and I understand that. However, for me, I just, again, I really want Mason to be kept in that back line because I think he's done really well recently, and he's had a couple of good games in centre midfield, but it's not like he's played half a season in centre midfield and we can look at him and go, oh, he's had a brilliant half a season in centre midfield. Yes, he played a couple of good games there, but I want to keep him in the defence. So I've gone Doucouré, James, and I'm going to go Tom Davies. No, actually, I'm going to go... I don't know. I really don't know, to be honest with you, because it's harsh on Gylfi Sigurdsson to take him out, but I just... You know what? I'm going to go Gylfi Sigurdsson. I am. I don't think Tom done enough yesterday coming off the bench, and I don't think Andre Gomes is good enough to play in that midfield. Gylfi Sigurdsson for me was man of the match for Everton yesterday. He done really, really well. He was working hard. He was picking the ball up. And if you've got Doucouré as that sort of sitting in front of the defence midfielder, who is picking the ball up and sort of adopting the Allan role a little bit like he did against Leicester, and then you've got Sigurdsson, in the centre, and then James maybe a little bit more forward. Maybe that could work. Look, you could name me a midfield three now of Everton, and there'd be at least one player in there who I'd have an issue with. So there you go. I've gone for Doucouré, James, and Sigurdsson. Who have you gone for, mate?
Right. So recently we have seen Carlo adopt a 4-2-3-1, and I think there's a very specific reason he's done this. But so I think I'm just going to name two midfielders, and then I'll name four.
Okay.
Going forward, but I think it's going to be Doucouré and Andre Gomes. Listen, I was the big believer in Andre Gomes when I first started this, because when he first came, he was one of my favourite players, and then he got the leg break, and then he's turned to shite ever since then. It's the simple way to put it, no offence to him, but Doucouré is one of those players who, listen, he's played every game too, but I think Doucouré is one of those players similar to a Kante, who just have that motor where they can play 35, 36 games a season without any worry. Yeah. They're just fit enough to do that. Oh, here we go. Right, so I think Doucouré will be fine to play, and I've gone for Andre Gomes because I feel like Sheffield United, a team that he can play again to his strength. Listen, he doesn't have to run around the pitch a lot. He can stay in midfield and just pick passes out. He's still good at that. The other stuff, yeah, he's not very good at that. But listen, Andre Gomes can still sit and pick out a pass, and he's proven it to us. So if that's all his job is in that midfield role, is to sit back deep and then just ping out passes and maybe stick his foot out for a tackle when someone comes near him. That's all he has to do. I don't think that's too difficult, and I feel like we need to incorporate all of our midfielders for squad depth. If Tom Davies, I think Tom Davies has accepted the bench role and he's fine with it. He's Everton through and through. I think he will accept it, and I think he's happy for it. And listen, off the bench, I feel like Tom Davies can give us a spark, so I don't want him to start. His passion really can help off the bench sometimes. Yeah. We don't have Allan. I feel like Sigurdsson in this game will be very useful off the bench with how well he's been playing. And I don't think he's been played better than any of the front four, I'm going to say, so I can't give him the start. But Andre Gomes is, this is a rotation piece in my opinion. Again, I think Sigurdsson would play in this role, and he could play in this role, but I feel like it's just him. I think like Ancelotti's trying to give Gomes as many chances as possible from what it seems like. I feel like he really believes in Gomes, and he's just trying. He's waiting for that Iwobi moment where Gomes suddenly everything clicks for him and he turns into form. And it might happen. Listen, look, it's happened with every other player he's gave chances to who's been underperforming. So you never know. I think it's a game against bottom of the league table with 2 points. I feel like Gomes can afford to play this game.
There you go. Fair enough. I don't know why I wrote Allan down there. I've just gotten too ahead of myself, haven't I? And gone, oh my god, I want Allan, Doucouré and James in the same midfield. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're probably more than likely going to see Davies or Gomes and Sigurdsson rather than James, because I'm not completely sure he's fit, but I just want him to be in there if he is fit. Front three then. This is where Cal's probably gone for the Carlo Ancelotti. He'll rotate, and we've got a lot of games to play and players need resting, and I've gone for we need to win. So, and again, I don't see the opportunities that Bernard's had. He hasn't taken them, and again, this is where the squad depth really comes into question. So I've gone for Iwobi on the right hand side. I think he's played quite well recently. Yes, he needs to improve on his final ball. Yes, he needs to improve when he gets in the box. However, I think his work rate has been brilliant. I think he's looked like a completely new player. He's full of confidence. He's getting forward. He's using his pace. He's using his power. He just looks like a completely new player, which is exactly what we need from Alex Iwobi. And then I've gone for Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. Does Dom need a rest? Yes. Does he need to come out? Absolutely. But who comes in to replace Dominic Calvert-Lewin? That's the biggest issue. Who comes in to replace Dom that you think, right, okay, you can come in and you can do a job there? Cenk Tosun, not for me. And I just think maybe Dom will have to play the next couple of games until we get into January, and then maybe we can go and look at bringing in a striker, even if it's on loan in January, just to come in and be that player that can swap out for Dom if need be. And then I've gone for Richie on the other side. Again, probably hoping a bit too much here. I wouldn't be surprised if Richarlison isn't available for this game. Look, he's come out himself and said he's fine. Carlo Ancelotti's come out and said he's fine. But with head injuries and concussions and stuff like that, sometimes the club doctors just say, no, you know what? You just have a few days off, and a few days off does take him past the Sheffield United game. So maybe that's a little bit too hopeful. Look, I don't want Richarlison to play if he's not 100% fit. He'll have to do the right tests, he'll have to do the right exams, and he'll have to pass them. And if he does pass them, brilliant. If he doesn't, then he shouldn't be playing. But again, what you maybe Carlo put Bernard in there. Doesn't excite me. Maybe Carlo put Anthony Gordon in there. I doubt it because he hasn't before. But even if Bernard starts, even if Gordon starts, even if Davis starts, Gomez, like Cal said, they should be more than good enough to get this win. So there you go. That's my front three. Go on, Cal. Give us your front four.
Right, so on the right, I've got Alex Iwobi. Listen, I feel like this is the main reason Carlos switched to the 4-2-3-1. Because, listen, we can still have Allen and Doucouré in midfield. We can have Iwobi on the right, Hammers in the middle. I feel like Iwobi's now a first-team player. I think he's earned it. I think ever since he's come in, he's impressed everyone. He's versatile. I just think the problem was the manager, and we were playing him on the wrong side of the pitch. You know, look at it. Iwobi on the ball always seems to do one stupid skill move a game where he channels his uncle JJ Okocha and he does something stupid, and you're like, all right. He did it to Man United a few times. I forgot who it was that he sat down on something, and I was like, all right, we're going to score it. It's just that final product, man. He can't cross. Sometimes I sit and think I could cross a better ball than Iwobi sometimes. But listen, it's something he'll work on in training. It's something that will naturally improve. And listen, he doesn't deserve to be taken out. He's 100% a starter in this team. He's performed well ever since he came on that right-hand side. And he doesn't deserve to be taken out. I think he probably deserves to play more than most players on the team, except like Dom and Richarlison. He's been that good. But then in the middle, I've got James. Listen, he has to play. Let's be brutally honest.
If fit.
Because let's face it, if fit, you know, if Carlo's not thinking, oh, Sheffield United, here we go, send some kid out. But, you know, listen, it's a easy game to let him into. Listen, no offence to any Sheffield United fans who are watching. We're not saying you're an easy win, because you're not. You proved it last season. You finished above us last season. That answers the question, really. But, you know, I feel like with your form this season, you haven't won a game this season. You know, so, like, realistically, James can sit, and even if it's 60 minutes and we have to make a sub, that's still 60 minutes of football James is going to get to build up that gas tank yet again. So I don't think James is going to be at a point, at least in this first season, where he can go 90 without a problem. That's not because of injury, that's just because he's barely played. I feel like we'll see it more in his second season, where James can play the full 90 minutes and be fine after the game. But, you know, I feel like he has to play, as I've said. His creativity is just so necessary. And I feel like Ancelotti's literally built this system to say, James, here you go. We finally found a way to put you in the middle. And that'll be so useful. His ability to shoot from distance. He'll finally be able to have those one-on-ones with players instead of the centre-back and the full-back just charging at him full speed. I feel like it'll be a fun experiment to see Iwobi, James, and the left winger Anthony Gordon playing together. Because, listen, he's rotating the side. Why not? This is literally the perfect opportunity to give Gordon a chance to start. What other opportunity do we have against a team that hasn't won a game yet, that's on dreadful form, and that's, you know, looking bound for the championship? It's the perfect opportunity to play him. His work rate's impeccable. He's the closest thing to Richarlison that we've got. So I really think it's something necessary that we have to do. Because let's be brutally honest, who's going to come in? Bernard is going to get a chance, get in the box, and then send it sailing 6 or 7 times. No offence to Bernard, but, you know, that one shot against United was probably like the 1 out of 20 that goes in. And you know, we don't have anyone else besides Bernard and Gordon, so I feel like Gordon has to play. And then I go into striker, and here's where I'm coming in an iron, because I feel like Dom, Richie will both be on the bench just in case. I feel like with the head injury, I don't see, because the thing is, Richarlison got knocked stiffened up. I don't want him to play because I thought for a few seconds he was out cold.
Yeah.
You saw it when he fell. He didn't catch himself with his arms. His arms were by his side.
And his leg also kicked up as well, which looked really dangerous.
Yeah. to put it simply, if anyone watches UFC, that 5-second knockout from Jorge Masvidal is what it reminded me of. The way his arms seized up, I was like, oh no, that's it. That I thought we'd had a Jimenez situation.
To be fair to Richarlison, though, he
And-
wanted to carry on, didn't he? I think he was looking round for Bruno Fernandes, thinking, I'm going to get you.
That's what I mean. I think that's why they took him off, because in the end, I think I didn't want Richarlison, Eric Cantona in. Actually, no, I would have preferred that. I take that back. I wouldn't mind if Bruno got a kick to the head. But no, I'm joking. Jeez. No. But no, listen, I don't want it to be risked. I want his health to be put first. And I feel like Gordon can do a good enough job. But then, as I said, we're at striker. Cenk Tosun, in my opinion, is worse than like Umar Niasse and stuff like that. So I don't want him to play. Worse than Aruna Kone. People, but you know, like at least Aruna Kone could score a hat.
Yeah.
I can't think Tosun scoring a goal. Like, I think he played okay for Crystal Palace, but who are you battling with? Christian Benteke, who didn't score a goal in God knows how long until this season. But I'm just thinking, and I don't see it happening, but I see him starting Tosun, but I'm going to say Ellis Sims, because it's the same situation of we have the chance to give these players a chance. And listen, we don't have a backup striker. Tosun never performed. We've got this academy kid who's banging him in for the under-23s. Why not give him a chance? What did we do when we brought Rooney in? We needed a player in that position. We thought, let's give this 16-year-old who's blowing everyone away a chance. Probably arguably the most technical player this club's ever had. If you look at it, arguably the best player our club's had in the last 50 years. And that's not when. I'm talking about what he turned into. But listen, I think it has to be him. I don't rate Tosun enough. Unless Richarlison's fit enough, and then I wouldn't mind Richarlison playing striker. But besides that, I just don't want Calvert-Lewin to get that hamstring injury like Alan got. And then we're like, well, that's it. That's it. We're finishing 12th this season. All our goals have been snapped out of the club. Listen, if Dom's in training and Dom's can say to Ancelotti, listen, I'm fine. Do a test on me. I can prove it. I can play against Sheffield. Because when's the next game after Boxing Day? It's like a week after, isn't it?
I think we then play... let me just get it up. I think we then play the following Saturday against City, is it? At Goodison Park. Let me just get it up. Give me a second. We play City. No, we play City on Monday. So... so only a couple of days. Play Saturday, then we play City on Monday. Then we play West Ham on Friday. And then we play... Then we've got a week to play before we play Rotherham in the cup. So only a couple of days. Then we play City. Then a couple of days later we play West Ham, and then that sort of sees the end of the busy period. Then
So Richarlison and Dom are playing. I'm not even letting them on the bench now if we're playing City on Monday. I want everyone fit for City, and and then on Friday, David Moyes, being the Everton fan that he is going to give us 3 points because he still loves us. But no, I just see it being a rotated side now, and I forgot it was City next. So especially with City being next, that's it. So the front four, we've got Iwobi, James, Gordon, Sims. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to be Bernard and Tosun if they don't play. But listen, I'm allowed to hope.
That is it, mate. You can only hope. And ultimately, look, you made a brilliant point there. I've put Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison in because I just don't see what Bernard or Tosun or anybody else coming in like that does. But the reality of this situation is if Richarlison picks up an hamstring injury or Dom picks up an hamstring injury, then we are in a very, very bad situation for the next few weeks, especially given we play Man City on Monday and we then play, whoever else in the next coming days or so. So, in the next coming weeks or so. So, look, it's going to be a difficult game. But the expectation is we go out and get the 3 points. Ultimately, we're playing a side that are bottom of the league, not won a game all season, and I'm not willing to sit here and say, I'll accept anything less, because if we want to be a team fighting for Europe, if we want to be a team fighting in the in the upper ends of the league, then we need to be beating sides like Sheffield United. No disrespect to them, but we absolutely need to be winning that game of football. Anyway, that is going to do it for today's game preview. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. It only takes a second. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. I hope you all have a very, very, very Merry Christmas, of course. Tomorrow, have a brilliant, brilliant day. I hope you all get loads of lovely presents and you have a fantastic one. Massive thanks to Cal for joining us once again. Anything to say before we finish up, Cal?
Just the usual. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my articles on Prince Rupert's Tower. Check my preview of the Man United game. That has aged very well. But And yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Hope you get everything you want. Hope you have a great day. Crappy times in the world, but this is the one day that we get to forget about all that and enjoy ourselves.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. Stay safe, everybody. Have a wonderful Christmas. Like Cal said, we've had an awful year, so if we can make one day where we're just all happy and we're all smiling, let's do it. And yeah, massive game for Everton on Boxing Day. 8 o'clock kickoff. Sheffield United away from home. Should be a win, but you never know with Everton. But again, like I said, my expectation is we go out and get the 3 points. And I'll be very, very disappointed if we don't. But who knows? Who knows what side Carlo Ancelotti will go with, and who knows what squad rotation we'll see. Big thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out Cal in the description. Follow him on Twitter and all that good stuff. And yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like if you've enjoyed, and we'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.